Do they go to some sort of decentralized finance in terms of one of the cryptos? They could, I suppose, but I think gold will stand out as something they look at.
It sounds like you're saying that we'll kind of see a sell everything moment where even precious metals like gold and silver as well, that those will take a dip as well.
Well, I'll just go back to '08, for example. They didn't stay there long, okay, but they corrected with the market. Oil did, gold did, the miners did, but they came back quicker than the market. And I would expect that was something that would happen now. And it would not cause us, by the way, to sell out of this stuff. We really like the miners. We've owned them for, 3 or 4 years. And so that's a position we really like. And we own the bullion too. We're not going to come out of that because we're not sort of quick enough to be able to decide when to go back in. But because it's something we want to own the next 5 years. But I suspect that what you'll see is, and I've seen this before, they drag along, but when you get toward the ends of these things, the bear markets, then people really start capitulating. In 2000, I'll give an example. The markets were in a bear market. The peak was March of 2000. And the market sort of drifted off. They drifted down in the summer a bit. They came off, the first time quite a bit. And then they rallied back up. They weren't down that much for the year, maybe 10%. But that basically set the tone for what the next 3 years were going to be. And I think this year it's the same. I think we set the tone here in the first quarter. And we'll see if that plays out that way. But I think we've got a good chance of that happening, Elijah.
So it seems like your perspective is have a good amount of cash right now because we're going to see buying opportunities soon in the future.
I don't know how soon, Elijah, but I do think you'll have opportunities to do a lot better than you can do now. And then in a lot of areas, I think private business is overpriced. Real estate, residential real estate is very overpriced. I could see 35% declines in that marketplace. And the reason is all of that stuff has just gotten so far out of line that people, they're sort of blind to what can happen. But I don't know how soon it'll happen. I'm just saying that what happens is it hasn't hurt you. For example, I've told people this. It has not hurt you this year to own cash. In fact, it's helped you. So this idea that, I don't want to own cash, well, it's not working in 2022. Cash has been pretty good. So we'll see how it plays out, but that's what my thought process would be.
I think a lot of people right now, the reason they don't want to hold cash is because they're afraid of inflation, at 8.5% right now. Do you see inflation continuing to be high or cooling off soon?
Well, I think by the time you get to the fourth quarter this year, we'll still have inflation, but disinflation. In other words, instead of what they're calling 9%, maybe 4% or 3.5% or something, some number. I mean, you'll still have something. But I had people tell me that before too. I worry about inflation, so that's why I want to hold cash. And so my answer to that is, well, would you rather own cash at a 1.5% return or have a negative return still against inflation in the stock market right now? I mean, to me, that's a double whammy. Because my stocks go down and it inflates, because at least I can sort of hold my own, if I've got some liquidity.
Now, when it comes to what is traditionally seen as safe havens, as we talked about before, gold and other precious metals, I know you are, for the long term, bullish on gold and have a price target of about $5,000. What makes you so bullish on the precious metals longer term?
Well, I think longer term, what's going to happen is, and you can see this now, and particularly, by the way, with what just happened with Russia on foreign exchange reserves. And you saw it in Canada as well. If you get in a position where governments, central banks start really taking money and taking over some country's money, some sovereign country, and all of a sudden you can take my money that's in foreign reserves, or in Canada, I can take your bank accounts. That starts happening, and it's happening right now. I think a lot of countries are going to say, I don't really want to put all my money in foreign exchange reserves, because what if they don't like them? They may take my money. And so I think you'll see a lot of those smaller countries in different situations with people even, where they'll say, I want something different. Do they go to some sort of, decentralized finance in terms of one of the cryptos? They could, I suppose, But I think gold will stand out as something they look at.